Hello friends, I'm Emily and this is another episode of the Woldenburn podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be chatting about some knitting and the initial first half of my Make 9 2025 plans. Happy New Year, happy 2025. I hope that you had a fantastic, cozy, wonderful Christmas and a lovely New Year's. We did. Thank you also to all of those who watched my Vlogmas videos. I had a lot of fun doing those. And that's probably the format that I'll be looking at doing for the next however many years I keep doing this YouTube thing, is doing the sort of weekly, semi-weekly vlogs during December, but we'll see. I have toyed with the idea of possibly doing, instead of doing Vlogmas when all of the Christmas craziness is happening, instead of doing that, doing maybe Vlogtober or doing spring vlogs. I've toyed with the idea of doing that instead. So we'll see. Who knows? But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to all of those of you who watched and commented on those videos. It was really lovely to read through your comments. That being said, I'm going to try and quickly dive in here into the knitting content. My husband just took the toddler for a walk and the baby's napping, so I only have probably about 15 minutes here. So this video is going to probably have to be in a couple different sections, which is fine. But first off, what we're going to do is I am going to share a couple of my whips, my works, or knitting projects that I am actively working on. I'm going to talk about a new whip that I need to cast on very quickly. I'm going to share sort of the whips that are going on to my 2025 Make 9. And then a couple things that I would like to do for my Make 9, but I don't have my whole list solidified. I'm kind of thinking with the Make 9 what I might try and do this year instead of what I did last year is do quarterly Make 9 boards, because I feel like last year when I tried to do the Make 9, which I should say if you haven't heard of it before, the Make 9 2025 Make Along is hosted by Amy of Noble Character Crafts. She didn't come up with the idea of a Make 9 thing, but she has been hosting this Make Along for several years now, and it's really fun. You just post a grid of your projects that you want to work on Instagram, and then you post pictures of working on your projects or the finished projects and on Instagram with the hashtag Make9 2025 MAL, and you get entered into win prizes that Amy draws periodically throughout the year. And it's a really fun make along. You don't have to finish anything. As she says every time, it's just a participatory make along. So it's just kind of fun to sort of plan out some of your knitting projects a little bit, or it's not just knitting. It can be anything: knitting, sewing, crocheting, any sort of crafts. That's why it's called a make along. Yeah, so I participated last time for the first time officially, and so this year I'm hoping to participate again. But like I was saying, I'm thinking what I might try and do is do quarterly Make 9 boards, because last year I felt like as the year progressed, my needs kind of changed with what I was wanting to make from a Make 9 board. So I think it might be fun to try and do sort of quarterly updates to the board, where it's you think about it and you're like, okay, I've realized I'm really not going to make this project this year, so I'm swapping it out for something else. Or, hey, I checked off 4 things off of my Make 9 board. I'm going to swap them, go ahead and swap them out with something else. I think that would be a little bit more my style, maybe, because I feel like I'm trying to plan out for an entire year in January what projects I'm going to make is a little bit, at least in my season of life right now as a mom with 2 little kids, my knitting and crafting stuff changes all the time. And so I think that it would work a little bit better for me to kind of do shorter, so 3 to 4 months brackets of planning. But all of that being said, with the very long intro, let's go ahead and talk about my primary main work in progress right now. I've definitely finished several things since my last podcast episode, but it's a new year. We're kind of starting afresh with my works in progress. If you're kind of interested in some of the things that I was crafting since my last episode, be sure to go back and watch some of my vlogs, because I talked a lot about, it was a lot of Christmas stuff. So anyway, I am working on the Kintra sweater. I am test knitting this sweater pattern for Rebecca of the Creabea podcast, and she is releasing it in fingering weight and DK weight gauges, and I am doing the fingering weight version. And yeah, I'll just show you where I'm at. It looks so good. I took way too long to cast this on, and so I kind of used... I love test knitting for Rebecca because she does very, very generous test windows. She is working to get all of her test knits up to 12 to 14 weeks, which is just amazing. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that Rebecca is my favorite knitwear designer, at least right now, because she is so considerate about the amount of options and things that she includes in her patterns. She's so considerate with her test knits, like just all around. She just really thinks about the knitter, and she tries to make it a positive experience for test knitters and for the knitters that would purchase and buy the patterns afterwards. And I just so appreciate that about her. So I used up a lot of my initial portion of the test knit, just going back and forth and second guessing myself and doubting whether or not I knew how to pick colors for this. And then I also did not realize how long this yoke was going to take me. This is a 1x1 colorwork yoke, and you switch out depending on how many colors you have, you switch out your colors, like alternating it. So it's not hard. You have to pay a little bit more attention to it to make sure you're getting the right color of yarn. And I didn't realize how hard that was going to be to do that with 2 little kids, especially now that my baby has kind of hit the phase where I can't really just let him, like he needs a little bit more interaction now. He's not just like in that newborn phase where he's like napping all the time. So my knitting time is considerably less at the moment. And then also with having to pay attention to this, I could hardly work on it around my toddler and baby. And so it took me like a month plus just to do this color work part. So thankfully I'm done with that now, and I'm on to, I did the short rows. There's some short rows in the back after the color work. So I've done that, and then I worked a few rounds in the body after I split for sleeves, or actually I've worked several rounds. However, I may have to go back and rip it out to just after the underarm split, because I realized that my tension is I loosened up a lot once I got done with the color work, and I didn't realize I had. So I may rip back out those like 2 or 3 inches of knitting, but that's okay, it's fine. But I paused on the body to work on a sleeve, and I am chugging right along on this. I'm hoping the deadline is like right around Valentine's Day. It's like the February 12th or 14th or 16th, so one of those days. So my goal is if I could get this done by the end of January, that would be fantastic, but I'm not expecting that to happen. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna estimate a week for one sleeve, a week for the other sleeve, a week for the body. So it's like 3 weeks. So I think that should put me right about where I need to be. But yeah, so I'm really, really loving this. I am using a variety of different yarns. My main color is a Barocco vintage sock. I cannot remember the colorway name off the top of my head. I don't think I have the ball band in here. It's just this really, really beautiful blue. And the thing that I love about the Barocco vintage sock is it has almost this like marled effect. So like if you really look at it, you can see like hints of purple and hints of green. It's just lovely. My initial plan was to use a gray, like a really nice looking gray, and they had a perfect colorway in it, but my local yarn store, which is where I get this Barocco vintage sock, didn't have 2 balls of the, I think it was like cracked pepper or something, and it was exactly what I was looking for, but they didn't have 2 balls of it, which was kind of a bummer. But now that I've knit it, I absolutely love the blue, so it's fine. And then the yoke is a variety of mini skeins. The 5 of the colors were given to me when I did the Advent swap that Rebecca hosted in 2023, and they were by, I think it's That Chick That Knits or something, and they're in a variety of different colorways. It was just several different like mini skeins, and so I used those. And then the mustardy yellow is just from it was like a Hobby Lobby mini skein set. They discontinued it a couple years ago now, and I've had this mini skein set for ages. But it's this one. It's like a blend of acrylic and nylon and wool. So there's that one, and then the other one, the green color that you see here, That is a Emma's yarn, like something smalls or whatever sock. It's in the Bee Hoppy colorway, and it's an 80-20 blend of superwash merino and nylon. And this was actually something that I won in a giveaway from the wonderful ladies at the Fruitful Hands Knitting Podcast, when they did a giveaway last year sometime. That was that. And so I popped all of those together in here, and I love how it looks. I was so nervous about combining these colors. I was just like, I don't know, like this could be the worst decision ever, but I'm so pleased with it. I think it's absolutely perfect. There is a little bit of a sad story. I have learned that I can no longer leave my knitting project bags on the couch because my toddler has become too aware of knitting and what is involved with knitting and all the fun tools with knitting. So one evening he'd gotten really quiet. I was like finishing up supper, and I think my husband was in the bathroom, so we weren't paying attention, and I knew that I needed to get up and get him, but I was just like, well, I got up to get, I learned my lesson. If he's quiet, jump. Jump and find him, because I realized that he was sitting over on the couch. He'd pulled my knitting out of the bag, and he's trying to like do stuff, and he has the scissors. He'd gotten my notions pouch out of my bag and had pulled the scissors out and chopped a hole in the yoke of my sweater, and I could have cried. I was just so... I knew it was my fault because I had left my project bag where it shouldn't have been. I should have hung it up there. So I've sort of patched it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and you can, yeah, there it is. That spot right there. Because he cut it in such a way that it wasn't just one row. It was like 2 or 3 rows, and it's all wonky, and it was heartbreaking. So in the back, I tied together as many of the little tails as I could, and then I sort of wove in and kind of did a Kitchener stitch, but like I said, I'm not super happy with how it turned out, and so I'm going to tear it out and try again. But I think I can fix it enough that it'll be fine. Also, apologies. I know my knitting needles have been conking onto the tripod. Hopefully you can't hear it too much. But I love it. I'm excited about it. I'm ready. I can't wait for it to be done. Also, I wanted to point out here this beautiful, stunning progress keeper. This is made by Elizabeth of EB&Co US on Etsy. It was in the Mystery Mouse yarns advent calendar for this last advent season. It was the Jessica Fletcher / Murder, She Wrote inspired one, and this was included in there. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'll link both of their shops down below. Also, my husband and toddler are back, so we're going to have to pause. I'll check back in a bit. Okay, I'm back for another little segment. I just got my baby down, but now I've got to get my toddler up in about 10-15 minutes at the most. So this is why filming, particularly knitting videos, has been challenging, just because they're at that phase right now where I feel like the baby and the toddler are alternating naps, so it's very rare that I have a decent stretch of time. But the one bonus is that I was able to work a little bit on my... That's the other reason why I wasn't filming, because technically I could have, but my husband's home, and so it's awkward. But he was holding the baby for a second, so I was able to do a little bit of knitting on my Kintra sweater, and so I used up the skein of yarn that I had, so I had to go get my other one. So now I can tell you what color it is. It is the Tide Pool colorway. And yeah, it is just beautiful. I absolutely love it. But I think I ended before. I was talking about my Kintra, and I was telling you about the beautiful progress keeper on here, which I absolutely love. And also I just was reminded that I have this lovely, very special stitch marker. I shared this in my vlog that one of my lovely viewers, who has become a very dear friend, that we've been emailing back and forth for a couple months now. It's been really nice. She lives over in France, and she sent me a beautiful package of yarn and hand cream and tea, which I've been drinking some of the tea, and it's delicious. It's lovely, and this time of year the hand cream has been so helpful because my knuckles get all dry. But she also included this little stitch marker in here of the Eiffel Tower, and I knew I had to put it on a project right away. So that's been on there, and it makes me think of her every time. But yes, so Kintra, and then I am currently knitting it on a US size 4, but for the body of the sweater I'm going to be going down to a US size 3, because I used the size 4 for the color work, and but now that I'm in a regular just round and round stockinette, one color stockinette, I need to go down a needle size because my gauge really loosened up. So there's that. And I'm holding all of that in one of my favorite project bags. Honestly, I have used this project bag so much, and it is by Susan of Delightful Works. It was a bag that she made for our book club that I host with Stephanie of Texas Peach Knits and Holly of Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. The very first book that we ever did is one of my all-time favorite books, and it was An Old-Fashioned Girl by Louisa May Alcott. And so Susan made these gorgeous bags inspired by it, and it's just like the perfect size. I love this thing. I have used it so much. For almost every project that I make ends up in this bag. So that's that. Then the only other thing that I have like really consistently, well, not really consistently, before I realized that it was getting close to the deadline and I needed to pick up the pace on the Kintra sweater, I had cast on this sweater, which is going to be a little sweater for my toddler. He's growing so much, and so he has outgrown all except for one of the sweaters that I've made for him, and so I am working on a really cute little stripy sweater. This is some yarn that my mother-in-law bought for me for my birthday. She's done it a couple times now, well, 2 or 3 different times, but as like a little treat, she'll take me to my semi-local yarn shop and I get to pick out a bunch of stuff. And so I picked out some yarn for making my toddler sweater and me a sweater and like all that stuff. But this yarn is the, oh, where is the correct ball band? I might not have it in here. It's like a Ella something DK. There we go. Ella Ray Cozy Soft Machine Washable Wool Blend. It is a 213 yards for 100 grams, 75% acrylic and 25% wool. And the green is parrot green, and I think the blue is just royal. But yeah, I'm going to do like a stripy raglan sweater, and then I'm pretty sure the sleeves are just going to be solid blue. So just the body portion will be stripy. And it's really nice. I've been doing repeats of, I think it's 6 rounds of the blue and then 3 of the green. And I am basing this off of the, I think it's called the Tweety Junior sweater by Hedgehog Fibers. And it's just a very classic, simple kids raglan sweater, and I really like it. So, and I'm knitting it on size 6s. Yeah. That one I've been working on here and there. I really need to get back to it so that I can finish it before he goes out of it, because my goodness, kids. So those are really all that I've kind of been working on. There's been some other projects, like I said, that I worked on over Christmas season, but I have just not had a lot of crafting time in the last probably month at this point, because now we're at, what, January 17th? Yeah. It's been a challenging 6 weeks as far as like knitting, and I hate the term like me time because it's just very, it sounds very selfish, but just like the relaxing rest time, I haven't had much of that. So that has meant that a lot of the knitting and stuff has kind of gone by the wayside, but that's okay. That's where I am in this season of life. So quickly, I wanted to share with you the next project that I'm hopefully going to be casting on. Maybe in the next week or 2, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So I am test knitting the Torin. I can't remember now. I'll have it on the screen. It's a little scarf that Rebecca of Creabea podcast is designing, and I've not been super interested in any of the little scarf things that have been really popular recently, but she shared it in her most recent podcast. To cut it out, I'm yawning. I'm so tired. Anyway, it's like this little scarf thing, and she shared a specific way of like tying it around your neck, and I was like, that is the first time that I've seen one of these, so I was like, okay, I could do that and I could wear it. And it just so happened that it's a perfect timing because my sister for my birthday gifted me this boofy cloud. It's a Louisa Harding Yarns Amatola brushed, and it is a blend of mohair, cotton, and wool. So it's 60% mohair, 25% cotton, 15% wool. And it's just this like lace weight yarn. It's so boofy. And my plan is to hold it with this Peyton's Croy in the plum colorway. And I've got to swatch and see if I can make sure I get the gauge. If it doesn't work with this yarn, I'll probably try and find some sort of like gray or some other color. Wouldn't that be so pretty? And it's like I said, it's a little cowl with this like dip stitch detail, and I was just like, I could do that. And this will be my first time knitting with mohair, which I'm kind of excited about. I think I've mentioned it in previous videos and podcasts and stuff. I'm not one for doing the mohair thing. I know it's a really big trend and has been for the last couple of years. But honestly, I do prefer knitting with like just one strand or type of yarn. But it'll be a fun experience to, especially since it was like a lovely gift from my sister. I'm just so excited about it. It'll be a fun experience to try it out with this. So stay tuned because this is going to be coming soon. Alright. Let me see. Okay, I've got 5 minutes. Or 10 at the most. Quickly, I wanted to start sharing some of the things that I am planning to have on my Make 9 board for 2025. So I've got a few different widths that I want to put on my board to get finished this year. I've got these 4. So let's see if I can quickly kind of go through some of them. The first one you've seen before, but it has been a good long time since I've talked about it. This is my ranunculus that I'm knitting out of this gorgeous yarn. This is a non-superwash yarn, which is so soft for a non-superwash, and it's like shepherd's wool something. I don't have the band for it, but it's this gorgeous blue color, and I cast this on maybe last spring or earlier in the summer. I don't remember exactly, but it's been sitting in a project bag because I did a bunch of test knits and things, and so it's just been kind of languishing, waiting for me to pick it back up. And I worked a little bit on it over Christmas, and once I finished some of the Christmas stuff, but I would love to get this done this year. And then part of that is because I have yarn to make more ranunculus sweaters, which I would love to do. I have 2 so far, and the one that I knit out of the Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. DK, I have been wearing that one so much this cold weather season, so I would love to have a couple more. And this one is going to be a little bit different because it's going to be like a vest, and so it's going to have like no sleeves or very, very short sleeves, and that's just because I don't have a ton of yarn. So very excited about this one. So ranunculus is definitely going back on my Make 9 board. I had it on there last year, and I made one last year, but I want another one, and so I'm going to make another one. The next project, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I have been working for almost a year now on making a vlog, like a project vlog for this project, and so I give all of the details in it. But this is a crocheted blanket that I started last March once we found out that we were having a little boy. Before he was born, well, he's born now, and he is rapidly approaching 6 months, and I have not finished it. Which, to be honest, I expected. The blanket that I made for my toddler when he was little, he may have been almost a year old before I finished it, but it's this really pretty, like, rippledy crocheted blanket. And I would love to get this done this year. It's really close. I'm more than halfway done on it, but this is one of those projects that has just kept being put to the side. I'd like to get it done because honestly it would have been so nice this winter to have it done already, because my toddler uses the one that I crocheted for him all the time, every nap time, every bedtime, like all the time. And it's just such a nice blanket. So I would love to get this one done. And then I've got 2 more that I know of right off the top of my head. That these are whips that are going on my board. And the first one, again, I have shared this before. It's been a minute. I can't remember if I talked about it on my last episode, but this is a cardigan that I was working on for my husband out of the Lion brand Wool Ease recycled yarn, and it's this beautiful royal blue colorway. And this is the something like everyday bomber pattern. I've been going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to finish it or if I wanted to do something else or whatever. I made my husband the Stick Season jacket by Rebecca of the Creabea podcast, and I really liked that pattern. It is just so well written. I love the fact that it's got a texture stitch, so it's not just stockinette back and forth, and I didn't think that I would get like bored or annoyed by stockinette back and forth, but I kind of have been with this one, and I just wanted to like have something a little bit more interesting going on. I love stockinette in the round. I can do that all day because I don't have to pay any attention to it. I can just go. And I think the other part of it too is that with this one, I think it's what's called a contiguous construction, and so the increases were constantly changing. It wasn't like a classic raglan where it's like every other row or something like that. Like it's a raglan, but like I was having to pay so much attention to the pattern because you work this certain amount of increase at this increase rate for this certain amount of rows, and then you change it to this, and then you switch it to that. So annoying. Like I'm sure it's a well-written pattern and it's gonna fit beautifully, but I did not enjoy the contiguous construction where you have to like pay attention to all the back and forth of all the. But now I'm just on the body portion, so I do think that I would enjoy it a bit more, and I would really love to get this done for my husband because I think that this is something that he would really wear, which he has been wearing his Stick Season jacket so much. So I'd like to get this one done and then potentially look at getting like some proper wool yarn to make him a cardigan or sweater out of, but we'll see, because he's always said that he doesn't really wear sweaters, so he likes his cardigans, but he did say that if I made him like a fingering weight, like a lightweight sweater, he would probably wear it. So that's something else I would look at. That's probably the next garment that I would make for him after this one, but I would love to get this one done. This is also a Delightful Works project bag, which is, again, one that I have used a lot. I think I prefer the shorter, wider, or at least the shorter. I think no, it is a little bit wider. The shorter, wider of this one, but I do really like this one. They're just like so sturdy and nice. And then the last whip, I think I've got just enough time to talk about this one, yeah, if I hurry. This is something that I've never shared on the podcast. I cast it on while we were waiting for baby to get here. He was 10 days late, and I just needed something. So I have had these giant balls of yarn. This is Windy with Wool Aran, 400 grams. It's a 25% wool, 75% premium acrylic. I bought 3 different colors of this. One's a tweed one, I think 2 years ago now, and intending to make like some sweaters and cardigans and stuff with it, and I haven't done anything with it because it was kind of in that season after my first baby was born of not having much time to knit, so I was compensating by buying yarn because I wanted to knit so desperately. So when we were waiting for the baby, I was like, you know what, doggone it, I'm just gonna cast something on. Get it on the needles. So I cast on the, what is it, Autumn Leaf or something? It's a free pattern by Drops. And it's this really beautiful, simple cardigan pattern. No, it doesn't have it on there. But what I did is so the chart that it comes with is kind of hard to understand. It just looks a little bit funky. Whoops. Like I said, it's a free pattern. I can show you all of this. It just looks a little bit wonky. Like, you can read it, sort of, but the way that they do the yarn overs, it's like in between, so it looks a little funny. So what I ended up doing is I went on Stitch Fiddle and I completely redid the chart like that. So it's really easy to read and understand, and it's made it so much better. So basically, it's a cardigan. I don't think I started with that part. It's a cardigan. It's knit top down. It's got this beautiful like lace leafy detail on it. And I was like, oh, that'll be perfect in this yarn because this is like this sort of springy green yarn, and it'll be really nice. It'll be like a nice cozy chunky cardigan. It's an Aran weight yarn. And it's like a bunch of garter stitch and stuff. Like it's really nice. So I haven't done that much of it. I think I did the first few rows of the chart. And then I was working on other stuff. But I would love to get this one finished this year. And again, I think these are US size 9s if I remember correctly. There's also, are these size 7s or something in here? I need to go through all of my bags and get all the extra needles out and clean everything out and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I gotta go get the toddler up. But yeah, so those are 4 projects that are definitely going to be on my Make 9 list this year. And I'm debating on whether or not I want to go ahead and do like a completely separate like Make 9's knitting project plan video, or if I'll just include it in the next few podcast episodes. We'll see. I'm not sure. But that is all that I have to share with you for today. I'm going to go ahead and end this here so that I can try and get it edited at some point reasonably. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have everything linked down below as far as the patterns and things. And like I said, I'll have the different Etsy shops for the Progress Keepers and Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. Which reminded me, this is one that I bought separately from Elizabeth, because I had somebody bought more of my yarn than I expected them to, and so I had a little bit of extra money, and I was like, what better way to use this yarn than to bless another small Etsy shop owner by purchasing something from them. So I bought that, and it's just so lovely, and it's perfect for this project because it's all green. But yeah, anyway, tangent. Gotta wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, please subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. I'm not very good at answering comments right now, but I love reading through all of them. And yeah, stay tuned. I'm hoping to be a little bit more consistent with podcast episodes now that the holiday season is over, but who knows. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!